Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
And good morning to you. It's the 12th of September. I was remiss in not noting yesterday was the 11th, 9/11, but we were so taken by the debate that it overwhelmed all else. I need to talk about 9/11 just for a second because of the fact that there was this strange coming together again and a second handshake between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump at the site of the World Trade Center. And one account said that this time he was ready and he put out his hand and attempted to do what he has done before to I guess most people. I've seen video of it. He does this thing where he shakes hands, and when he takes the person's hand, he pulls them toward him. It's it's a dominance display. He does it with men, he does it with women, he does it with all people. And she was ready. He attempted it, but she stood her ground. The thing I wanted to note, however, is that Trump showed up at that event, and amidst his entourage was a despicable conspiracy theorist and racist and xenophobe named Laura Loomer. And she, by the way, strangely, she was on Trump's plane when he flew to Philly for the debate. She was the one who filled his head with their eating dogs in Springfield. And she is well known as somebody who traffics in hate and conspiracy theories and flat out lies. And what's so appalling about him bringing her to the scene of the attack on 9/11, the most horrific scene of 9/11, was that she has, of late, become a conspiracy theorist about 9/11 and in fact suggests that it was an inside job, that it was the Bush administration, the deep state, that had, for whatever, it doesn't matter what fantastic reasons these fantasists come up with. But that is something she has spread, and that he would have her in his company at an event where they were to honor those who died that day is just, again, indicative of his soiling of sacred ground at every opportunity. Arlington, check. Ground Zero, check. Doesn't have a clue. I came upon something I saved some time ago, and I'm just going to share it with you now. It dovetails with speaking of somebody as vile as Laura Loomer. And since we are unfortunately beset and besieged by so many people who peddle lies for their own gain and to sow discord and fear, I wanted to read something that I had captured on I did a screenshot of it, and it's from a Nazi propagandist. And I'm not sure if it's Goebbels. I don't know who it is because I don't have that here. But I recall very strongly it was a Nazi propagandist explaining how the big lie, how the bigger the lie, the better, because the more likely it is to be believed with repetition. Because normal people, people who are not given to think the worst, will find it impossible to believe that somebody would say something so outrageous if, in fact, it were not true. And so the bigger the lie, the better, and repetition is the key. And that I'm sure you've heard and know. But this made sort of rounded it out a little bit more. And here it is. Because it is so, I mean, we're seeing it play out in our right-wing media sphere, on social media, from the likes of Elon Musk and his huge platform, from Fox News and Newsmax and all these other peddlers of big lies. And you tell me if this doesn't sound exactly like the Trumpian playbook. Here it is. This is the quote from the Nazi. Never allow the public to cool off. Never admit a fault or wrong. Never concede that there may be some good in your enemy. Never leave room for alternatives. Never accept blame. Concentrate on one enemy at a time and blame him for everything that goes wrong. People will believe a big lie sooner than a little one, and if you repeat it frequently enough, people will sooner or later believe it. There it is. And we're living in that environment now. And that environment will not go away, even if Trump is defeated again. It will not go away. He will not go away. His acolytes and those who have held him up and have created empires around him, supporting him, will not go away. Um, who was it? I think it was Robert Reich who who put together what he envisioned. Let me see if I can find it here for you. I'm sorry. Um, of what Trumpism will be even after Trump. And I mean, he first puts out that, of course, even if he loses uh, in the election, and especially if it's a tight election, he will, of course, not concede. Happily, as we've noted, he won't have the power to send in the military to seize voting machines, to do all the things that he had attempted to do 4 years ago. Um, he will not have the power of the pardon. But of course, he and his ilk will do what they have already set up to do. They will create chaos at all levels of government, down to the precinct level, where the votes are counted, where the results are certified. They will attempt, of course, and we've said this, to manipulate the process, to stall, to withhold certification. You might have seen, by the way, that the Department of Homeland Security has now put January 6, 2025 on their calendar as the highest security event. Strangely enough, the others on that highest security event are things like the Super Bowl. It is, events where if you were a terrorist and wanting to make a big splash would see that as a wondrous target. Reich says there's very little doubt that with the chaos that the right wing will attempt to create after the election, that the federal courts will get involved. And inevitably, if federal courts get involved, some of the litigation makes its way up to the top of the federal court system. And that, of course, brings us to the Trump infested and overrun Supreme Court. And Reich says, raise your hand if you trust the Supreme Court to rule impartially. But he goes on to say, okay, so even if he loses, and he even loses in the courts, there's nothing to keep him, as long as he's alive, from meddling in 2026, in 28, even running again in 28. God forbid, and I don't see that coming. And there's a good shot he's going to end up being in jail. But see, Trump in jail is just Trump martyred. And all of this ecosystem that surrounds him, including his sons, including Fox News and the others, the right-wing outlets, including the billionaires who are behind him, Musk again, and Thiel, and so many others. And I'm not leaving out just the average Joe, his base. They're still going to be there. So what he has unleashed will still be with us. And I know we know that, but I don't know that we're prepared for what that will be like. We're talking about, maybe as many as 44% of the electorate supporting him. And they, even if he loses, are not going to all of a sudden stop believing in whatever it is they believe. They'll still be xenophobic. They'll still be enraged. They'll still be America firsters. They'll still be racist. They'll still be this angry mass wanting to act out. So I don't know. I mean, he doesn't end up in a good place. Reich, in this rather long article he wrote, because he says the only way we can get those people back, many of whom are, in fact, white men with high school degrees who used to be able to make good livings with manufacturing jobs, right? And now those jobs aren't there, and in fact, those jobs will continue disappearing. That unless we as a country figure out and maintain focus on creating an economic structure and economy that works for people that don't have college educations, then this angry base will remain angry. That's what he says. You can say there's no, I don't know. You can say whatever you want. I'm just saying that. Hey, local story that I just saw one little item and it blew me away. So there's been a number of school districts around Pittsburgh that have been shut down in the last few days, right? Because of threats that there would be shootings at the school. And you know, a school is you get a phone call like that, you cannot dismiss it. Obviously, the odds are it's a prank or an attempt to disrupt, you know, but it is something that has to be taken seriously, lest in fact it be genuine. And I know that the FBI, there's been such a rash of them, the FBI has been called in. Well, I just saw this little note today, and again, you guys who are more, getting local news more than I, um, you probably already heard this, but I was just blown away to see that it was, first of all, a girl, they believe. They have a suspect in some of them. I don't know if it's all of them. They believe it's a girl, which surprised me right there. How often is it a girl? It's almost always boys. That it's a girl, and not only a girl, but it's an elementary school girl. Good God. The perpetrator is what? A 9-year-old? I don't know. What are we doing? What have we done to our kids? Jesus H. Yeah, so it's a little girl in Shaler, a Shaler Township Elementary School student, and she's, I guess, confessed. What? God. So at least those threats now can be discounted. But how easy is it now, right, to do this kind of thing? Wow, wow. And I guess the investigation continues. Um, oh, so much to talk about. So little time. Hey, guys, speaking of so little time, this is our last show of the week. Next week will be, I'm sorry, shortened because on Monday I cannot do the show. I will instead be unconscious with cameras going up my butt and down my throat, not to be too graphic. Yeah, gotta have an endoscopy and a colonoscopy. I know. What fun. Anyway, I'll be back on Tuesday, cleaned out, probably having lost a few pounds, and we'll have a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday show. And by the way, Thursday show, I will have the authors of a book I so enjoyed, Behind the Yoy, on the program. And that is just delightful page turner about the inimitable. That's not true. He was always imitated. Myron Cope, and the authors will be both here. One being his daughter, Elizabeth. Thoroughly enjoyed the book. Hey, while we're on the subject of teachers, I just want to point out something that, again, a sign of the times. You know, I often make fun of the next door, that app that is, supposed to help people living in the same neighborhood, keep up to, know what's going on, or say, hey, I put something on the curb, you might want it, I'm throwing it out, or, but it is devolved so much into, crabby old people who I spend their time looking out their windows, reporting on suspicious people walking by and things like that, and complaining about and scared every time they hear a police siren. It's just it's laughable to me, most of it. But every once in a while there's something there, and there is a proliferation of posts on there now from teachers, elementary school teachers mostly, some middle school, but it's mostly elementary school teachers, and they're asking, it's like a GoFundMe, they're asking for money. And I just sort of looked into one to see where there's actually an organization that is behind all of this, and this is going on all over the country, and it's called DonorsChoose.org, and it's all set up so that the teacher puts out the kinds of supplies he or she is needing to what they think they need to educate their kids that obviously their districts or in their schools are not providing. And I mean, some of them are so basic that I'm here's one asking for bandages, asking for pencils and pens and Kleenex. I mean, and you see that there are people who have, like, oh man, and Clorox wipes. Now, I'm sorry, but if a kindergarten school or a first grade teacher wants, to have a safe environment for her kids, that would seem as if she needs Clorox wipes and she needs Kleenex and bandages. My God, that's not something she should have to go begging for. And these are suburban school teachers and they're Pittsburgh public school teachers, the ones that I saw. And I was just blown away. And, you know, and this Donors Choose that helps teachers, reach people. The thing is there's so many of the teachers now on this thing begging that they're canceling each other out. I mean, oh, every single teacher in every teacher in this entire area. I mean, there was one school where you had like 7 teachers all begging for money. Now, sometimes they're asking for something you can see why they don't have it, something they think will really enhance. Uh, some were asking for shelving so kids could have their I don't know, but my God. Um, and it says here that on average, public school teachers in this country spend $500 of their own money every year on school supplies. What the hell? Just wanted to say that. Laura writes, I'm so over next door. Yeah, I understand. I can believe the crap. I can't believe the crap that people post and complain about. And the comments are off the wall as well. Do they have nothing better to do? Yeah, it does make you see how lonely I think and isolated so many of our neighbors are. Um, and I guess this is an app like that does allow them uh, an ability to feel like they're part of a community. They can speak and then have people respond. But yeah, it is so often just grumpy, scared people. I just can't imagine. Oh well. In the Atlantic today, there was a psychiatrist who does often. He's a really good writer, who often writes about stuff beyond his stock in trade. Um, and he writes. Did I say? Yeah, I guess I did for the Atlantic. And he said, let me see if I can find this. After watching the debate, his name is Richard Friedman. He said this: if a patient presented to me with the verbal incoherence, tangential thinking, and repetitive speech that Trump now regularly demonstrates, I would almost certainly refer them for a rigorous neuropsychiatric evaluation to rule out a cognitive illness such as dementia or Alzheimer's. And that such a diagnosis, he goes on, would not be out of the ordinary for a 78-year-old person. And, he goes on to say that, only it's just saying that if, and I mean, I agree with them. I mean, if somebody I cared about was as incoherent as he is, I would, yeah, be definitely trying to get them to a neurologist. I mean, without a doubt. So, when Kamala was here preparing for her debate, hey, is Pittsburgh obviously a good place to prepare for a debate or what? So, when she was here preparing for the debate, she left the hotel a few times, and one of them to go to the strip district, and she ended up at Penzeys Spices, which it's a concern. It's based in Wisconsin and has stores in cities all over the country. But it also is it's a very unusual business model in that the ownership is openly political. They put out even in their advertising and stuff. They're just I can't. I guess his name is Mr. Penzi. I don't know. He's just openly he's liberal, and it should not surprise you to learn that since the pictures of her at Penzi's were all over the news last weekend, the right wingers have been targeting Penzi's, and they've gone on Yelp and drowned the site in negative reviews about Penzi's. And I got to tell you, if you've ever been to Penzi's, there ain't no way you can do a negative review. It's beautiful. It's got every spice you could. The only time I've actually ever been in there is I was making some recipe, and there was a spice I'd never heard of, and I didn't see it at the grocery store. So I thought, hi, there was that place in the strip. I went there, and I was really, I mean, it was wow, it was a lovely place. And yes, of course, they had the spice. Um, but they're trying to take him down. They're trying to do to him and Penzies what they did to Budweiser. It was Budweiser, right? Budweiser Light. When they, I guess, what had a trans person do an ad or something for them. I don't know. Who don't know? What I don't know what sets these lunatics off. But he's taking it in stride. He's saying they're really getting hammered. And he says, look, this has happened to us in the past. I mean, I have been outspoken about my political beliefs in the past. And believe me, I've been on the receiving end of this kind of crap before, but not exactly at this level. And he said, I mean, in the past, I have said to these outraged Republicans who say they'll never spend a dime in one of my shops again. I have said this, and he has this thing he tells them, and here it is. I hate the way he starts because he says going forward. Do you remember when we used to just say in the future? Going forward. It's one of those turns of phrase that annoys me. I'm sorry. It just does. Anyway, here's what he says. Going forward, we would still be glad to have you as customers, but we are done pretending the Republican Party's embrace of cruelty, racism, COVID lies, climate change denial, and threats to democracy are anything other than the risks they legitimately are. If you need us to pretend you are not creating the hurt you are creating in order for you to continue to be our customer, I'm sad to say you might be happier elsewhere. So the guy, the guy does not get bullied. And he admits that this time he might come out on the losing end. He says, but there's always others who will, step in and be drawn to us. So if you need some spices and you don't mind maybe going out of your way to get them, get over to Penzies. Lovely place. Lovely place. Um, Let me see. Oh, another thing that's get ready for because it's starting up already. Since Trump's abysmal performance. During the abysmal performance, you'll recall when he was flailing around, he at one point, and it was incoherent because it was in the middle of nothing in particular. I mean, he was probably asked a question about foreign policy, and he was talking about mental patients from Venezuela coming across our borders to kill us. But he said, I he said something about I took a bullet because of it was clear he was saying it was Democrats who were on the shooter's side, that it was a political bullet that grazed his ear. Um, and I thought, wow, I thought initially he had, been pretty, he wasn't going there initially. Well, he going there now. And in fact, the right wing media is way ahead of him. And in an interview he did a week and a half ago with the lovely Monica Crowley, she said this: "It looks like the three-letter agencies, I guess that's the FBI, the who knows what, the CIA, I don't know. It looks like the three-letter agencies are slow walking a lot of the evidence, a lot of the videos, etc. Does it look increasingly to you like this was a suspicious, maybe inside job?" And Trump replied, "It's very suspicious. The more you see it, the more you start to say, there could be something else here." Yeah. So he's gone from not going there to going there, of course, in earnest. And never mind, of course, the facts, thus known, are that the shooter, from all that the three-letter agencies can garner about him, was a screwed up, gun-toting young American male, of which unfortunately there are a lot, and that he fit the profile of the kind of kid that most often shoots up a school. He was not particularly political, and in fact, they found on his phone he was tracking Biden, he was tracking Trump, he was tracking a member of the royal family in England. Nothing ideological or political, just a really high profile person that he and because Trump came to his backyard. I mean, if that had been a Biden outdoor rally, then that bullet may well have found its way toward Biden. That's what is thought, but it's a lot more helpful to Trump and his base, again, to make it appear as if it was the deep state and the Democrats behind it. Excuse me while I guzzle something here. Okay, what else I got? What else I got here? Oh, this is something I've been wanting to talk to you about for about a week or two. Actually, there's three things here that they just somehow, every show, I keep thinking, you gotta talk about this. It just somehow doesn't get there. Hang on a minute. I got some emails coming in. Just want to share. Let's see. Chuck writes, my daughter, a kindergarten teacher, uses Donors Choose once a year to fund her classroom needs. She is always conservative in estimating what she needs, meaning She never wants to appear that she's taking advantage. And her request is fully funded each year, and the donors come from many sources, such as family members, friends, etc. One year, her request was fully funded by an anonymous donor. She has purchased everything from pencils to desks. And he says, note, when she leaves this position, the items she purchased go with her to her next school. Donors choose is funding the teacher, not the school. In addition, she spends approximately $750 of her own money on school supplies each year. I know this because I do her taxes. Good. Well, what is wrong? That's not right. It's just not right. Shame on us. Oh, dang it. And Barbara writes, speaking of lunatics, former President Donald Trump has said that if elected, he will appoint Elon Musk, oh yeah, right, to head up a new efficiency commission. Yeah, Elon's going to come in and do what he did to Twitter. He's going to come in and wholesale, literally fire probably 50% of the federal employees. And then the government will go down like Twitter did. Just unbelievable. Yeah, just another reason. And by the way, you see SpaceX and billionaires spacewalking. What the hell? Okay, so the things I had wanted to talk about and haven't gotten around to are one, the Nippon Steel, US Steel thing. I have to say, I'm sort of fearful of saying it because no one around here says it, but I think it's wrong-headed to oppose Nippon Steel's offer, which is incredibly generous and more generous than the other offer on the table, which is from the only other American steel company willing to do it, which I guess is offering half of it. Nippon Steel is Japanese owned, yes, but since when are the Japanese a security threat to us? They're like one of our greatest allies. I don't understand it. US Steel is on its deathbed. They don't have the means to invest in their own operations. Nippon Steel's doing just fine, thank you, and they're saying if we come in, we're going to modernize these plants. They'll have more jobs. I don't understand it. I'm just and I and the reason that this is one of the things that both Harris, Biden, and Trump agree on, I think tells you all you need to know. That this is not a decision based on anything other than the politics of winning Pennsylvania. That's my guess. Because the most vocal opponent of the acquisition is the steel workers union. And that is why, but it's it's a win-win kind of proposition. And to make this argument that this is based on national security concerns, hey, if it was the Chinese, I'd say it's based on national security concerns. But it's Japan. And they're saying they'll invest billions, which US Steel doesn't have to invest. It's stupid. Okay, I've been wanting to say that. Thank you very much. I said it. For all the good it'll do. this other thing was a horrific story. You know how I love sharing horrific stories with you, lest you had somehow escaped them. Let me see if I can. Now it's been so long since I have, but it really, nothing laughable here. It is about a hospital chain in this country, a private, non-profit. How's that possible? Is that possible? Nonprofit hospital chain? No, if it's private, it's profitable, right? Yeah, anyway. Okay, so it's not, I don't know. No, it's not nonprofit. It's called Acadia, and it operates psychiatric hospitals in almost half the states of this union. And guys, when you start, it was what? This was the New York Times did a long, deep investigation. Good God in heaven. Don't ever, I'm just telling you right now, don't ever go or let anyone you care about go near an Acadia hospital. And this is a psychiatric hospitals used to be, they're never a place you want to be. I refer you to, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But psychiatric hospitals used to be usually, run by the state or by a nonprofit, but it's for profits now, yeah, that have moved in. And the reason they've moved in is because they're, if I'm still on, oh, did I just get back on? Was I ever off? God damn it. Yeah, I can tell I'm back on, but it all of a sudden I had this thing that said data fail. I'm sorry if we're going in and out. I thought we were doing pretty well there today. Anyway, because of Obamacare insisting that you had to pay for mental health, the capitalists moved in, and you know how much capitalists really care about people. So there have been places where the Acadia hospitals have literally been on the receiving end of police raids where the cops have gone in. Um, Let me see. What can I tell you? See, this is a problem here. Uh, a nurse at one of the units said, oh, so some woman went there because she was feeling depressed. And she was told, well, you have to sign yourself in to get therapy. So she signed herself in. And and then she was feeling better later that evening and she called her husband and said, "I think you can come pick me up." So he came to the hospital and the hospital refused to let her leave. They said, "No, she signed herself in. That's like a voluntary commitment or something. And we've got her for 6 days." Or it was even more. Her husband had to go to court, and a judge had to order that she be released. That took 6 days. That took 6 days to get her out. Meanwhile, the hospital is charging the insurer, Obamacare or otherwise, well over $2,000 a day. It's how they make their money. And the investigation shows that Acadia often, once it gets a patient in the door, it holds them as long as they possibly can. And they do that by falsifying the records. they call their employees are told you put things down like they're combative. Buzzwords that give us the leeway to say no, they were a threat to themselves or others, so we had to keep them here. More than 50 police officers descended on an Acadia psychiatric hospital north of Atlanta in 2019. Dozens of patients there said they were held against their will. They'd seen other patients assaulted. Good God. I have to tell you, you read this thing and you cannot believe what you're reading. What you can't believe is that they're still in business. How do you get to keep? Acadia operates more than 50 hospitals nationwide, and the bulk of its revenue comes from government insurance programs. So it's coming out of Medicare, Medicaid, Obamacare. And their success has attracted notice on Wall Street. God, its stock is rising, valued at over $7 billion. You know, there's something really wrong when your tax dollars, which you intend to go to funding public health care, right? Instead, it's ending up in the pockets of these friggin' capitalist bastards. And I just want to say, when I start jumping on capitalists, I they're not all bad. My dad was a capitalist, but there's capitalism and then there's capitalism, and the capitalism we have now, all too often, is this. It's just ugly. It's dog eat dog. Somehow eating dogs. I don't even want to go there these days. It's dog eat dog. It's I win, you lose. My sweet dad always said the only good deal is a deal in which both parties go away happy. That's not how the capitalists I'm railing against think. Um, that's interesting. So some of you are saying I was never off. Others are saying I was, and now I'm back. Hmm. Don't get it. My dear old producer Kevin came over yesterday, and he tried to do some fixes here and there, and I don't know. Who the hell knows? I don't know. Okay, so the other thing I had wanted. Oh wait, one more email to get in here. Sorry. Ansel writes, Lynn, I just wanted to say ditto to the earlier email you read about the teacher and the Donors Choose website. My wife is a teacher, and I just wanted to add that teacher salaries are at an all-time low. And I never thought I'd see this, but there's a severe teacher and teacher's aide shortage. Teachers are doing double duty for less money, and no wonder they're quitting in such high numbers. Harris and Trump should be talking about this, of course. Well, I'll tell you, a lot of that would have to do with the fact that have you noticed that nobody raises local taxes ever anymore? I mean, how do teachers get paid, right? Tax dollars. And the Republicans have created a mindset in this country that Anyone who raises your taxes is just taking your money. There's no, that is some kind of confiscatory plot. But we used to think, back when we had some semblance of community and social contract, that that of course any community would want to educate its children as well as they possibly could. And also the funding formulas we use in this state, outrageous. I mean, it is just, I don't know. And as you know, I feel like both liberals and conservatives, liberal parents and conservative parents, have largely abandoned public education, something that I just sickens me. When I sent my kid off to the neighborhood school that he walked to, I cannot tell you how many people, even back then, it's over 30 years ago, said, "My God, why are you sending him there?" As if it was some kind of a hellscape. Those that have just can't get enough. They want their children to have more and more and more. Their children who already have a million steps ahead of some poor kid, they want them to have more steps than that ahead. Jesus, I refuse to join that race. Disgusting. Okay. Okay, the other thing I just wanted to talk about was a piece written by a guy named Michael Leibovitz, um, and it's about gossip. And it was an opinion piece in the Times about 2 weeks ago. And I remember hearing some time ago that in my religion, Judaism, that gossip is like a major sin. I didn't know that. It's like murdering somebody's reputation. Um, and and that there's nothing you can do that is worse. And yet, psychologists say that gossip is one of the fundamental ways that we humans bond. You know, did you hear what so and so did at the? That is what we do. And ever since I read this thing, I have been more and more aware of how that's all when friends I mean, in large part, when we get together with other people, that's what we do. We gossip. And in some respects, news can be, gossip. All major religions say it is bad, bad, bad. Um, so anyway, ever since I've been aware of it, I've been much more aware of it and trying not to engage in it. Speaking of someone who's not there, behind their backs. Um, so, so the guy who writes it actually tried desperately to stop gossiping too, and found it really hard. But he said, "I have sworn off it, um, but not, I can't do it entirely. I've cut back. And you know what? The less I judge people, the less I want to judge. No, the less I judge people, the less I want to judge people. The less I complain, the less I want to complain. The less, maybe, that I even see things to complain about." So he's finding it a positive in his life? I had wanted to talk about that and get into it, but we're out of time. And caller, I'm sorry. I see that you came in there, and but our time is up. Um, so that's it for me for this week. And as I said, I'll next be back on Tuesday because Monday, God help me, I got to do a colonoscopy and an endoscopy. And I will be in no position to do this show. So see you next Tuesday, okay? Other than that, enjoy the weekend as much as you possibly can, and seriously, try not to gossip.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.